The grand halls of the alien palace were cold and echoing as Queen Ceres walked alone through the vast corridors. Her once proud title now felt hollow, like a relic of a past life. Her husband, King Arthur, had cast her aside, claiming that the ancient ways of their people required heirs, something she could not provide. It wasn't for lack of love. It was simply because she had failed to conceive. In the eyes of their alien society, that was all that mattered. Sarah's skin shimmered faintly under the dim lighting, an ethereal blue hue that marked her as a member of the noble class. Her once beautiful silver hair cascaded down her back like liquid moonlight, but now it seemed like a shadow of its former brilliance. She felt forgotten, unloved, and abandoned. King Arthur had taken a new, younger wife, one who could bear children, a woman who would fulfill his duty as the king, and one who could secure his legacy. And Ceres, the woman who had once stood beside him, was left to wander the empty halls of the palace, discarded and alone. Years had passed since her exile, and yet, despite all the wealth and luxury of her position, Ceres couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was missing from her life. Her heart ached for something more than her royal status. It longed for companionship, for love, for purpose. One day, Ceres heard of a strange occurrence. A human ship had crash-landed near her palace. It was an unusual event, for humans did not often visit this far in the galaxy. Curiosity gnawed at Ceres as she made her way to the crash site, her heart racing with a sense of anticipation she hadn't felt in years. When she arrived at the wreckage, she found a group of humans huddled together, their clothes torn, and their faces filled with fear. Their leader, a rugged, strong human man, stood apart from the rest of the group. His gaze was wary, but there was something in his eyes, a kindness, a spark of life, that Ceres hadn't seen in years. His name was Alexander. He was a traveler, a soldier, and an explorer who had been stranded after his ship malfunctioned. Unlike the others, who seemed broken and hopeless, Alexander radiated strength and resilience. Sarah's heart fluttered in his presence. For the first time in years, she felt something stirring inside her, a feeling she had almost forgotten. "I'm Ceres," she introduced herself, her voice trembling ever so slightly. "I can help you. You and your people are safe here. My kingdom will provide refuge." Alexander's eyes studied her, his gaze sharp and perceptive, yet kind. "Thank you, Queen Ceres," he replied. "We could use some help. Our ship was damaged in a storm, and we're stranded." Ceres led him and his group back to the palace. As she showed them around, she couldn't help but feel a deep connection to Alexander. It wasn't just his rugged good looks or the fire in his eyes. It was something more, something she couldn't quite explain. As they spent more time together, Ceres began to realize that this man, this human, was unlike anyone she had ever met. He didn't see her as a queen or as a woman without children. He simply saw her as herself. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, Ceres and Alexander's bond grew stronger. She found herself opening up to him in ways she hadn't with anyone else. She shared her pain, her regrets, and the loneliness that had consumed her for so long. Alexander, in turn, revealed his own struggles and the weight of the battles he had fought, both physically and emotionally. One evening, as they sat by the palace's tranquil garden, Ceres found herself pouring her heart out to him. "I was abandoned by the one person who should have loved me the most," she confessed, tears slipping down her cheeks. "All because I couldn't bear children. I thought I was nothing without that." Alexander reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. "You are not nothing, Ceres. You're everything. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're a queen in every sense of the word." His words hit her like a lightning bolt, and for the first time in years, Saris felt her heart truly begin to heal. She felt seen, valued, and loved, not because of her title, not because of her ability to bear heirs, but because of who she truly was. Days passed, and the more time they spent together, the more Saris realized that Alexander was the missing piece in her life. He had come into her world, and together, they were creating something neither of them had expected, a connection that transcended their differences. But the path ahead was not without challenges. One evening, as the full moon hung high in the sky, a figure appeared on the horizon. It was King Althor, surrounded by guards and with a new queen by his side. Sarah's heart sank as she saw him approach. She had not seen him in years, but she knew this was the moment that would change everything. "You've abandoned your duty, Saris," King Althor's voice boomed as he approached her. "You were once my queen, and now you've chosen to forsake your position for some human. You are no longer fit to rule." The word struck Saris like a dagger to the chest. But as she looked at Alexander, standing strong beside her, a sense of clarity washed over her. She was no longer the woman who would let someone define her worth. She had found someone who saw her for who she truly was. "I do not need your approval, Althor," Sarah said firmly, her voice unwavering. "I am no longer your queen. I am my own person. And this human," she gestured toward Alexander, "is the one who sees me for who I truly am." King Althor's face twisted with anger, but there was no malice in Sarah's heart. She had long since forgiven him for abandoning her. She had found something much greater than the throne. She had found love, acceptance, and a chance to rebuild her life with someone who valued her beyond all else. "Saris," Alexander said softly, taking her hand in his, "you don't have to do this alone anymore. Let's leave this world behind. We'll make a new life, just the two of us." In that moment, Saris realized that she had been given a second chance, a chance to build a future with someone who would never abandon her. Together, they left the palace and the kingdom that had once cast her aside. They traveled to new worlds, new horizons, forging a life together filled with purpose, adventure, and love. The alien king, once so sure of his position, was left behind, and Sarah stepped into a new life, her heart full and free. She had found not just a lover, but a partner who would always see her as more than what she had been told she was. And in that, she had found her true place in the universe.